of Tableau Prep user group. Thank you, those of us who are joining nice and early, but good afternoon, good evening to those who are in a time zone where it's slightly later. Make sure to drop us a hi in the chat and let us know where you're joining from today. So my name's Jenny Martin. I'll be hosting today's Tableau Prep user group. I'm joined by Matthias and Jake Reilly as well, and can't wait to hear their talks on Tableau Prep subjects. So a couple of bits of admin to get through initially, as always with the user group. So just a reminder of who your leaders are for this Tableau Prep user group if this is the first time you're joining. So Jack and Jared both are over in the United States. So for them, it's probably the middle of the night at the moment, which is why we haven't got them joining. But I can see that we have got someone on from the States. So that's cool. That's brilliant. Welcome to you. Awesome. So yeah, this user group is generally trying to capture the time zones of EMEA and APAC to try and make it nice and convenient for us over in these continents. But yeah, the next one in December will be focused on APAC and the America regions. So that's where that time zone will be. Well, I won't be able to join that one. Brilliant. So I just wanted to chat a little bit about the 23.3 release of Tableau Prep, which came out on the 24th. I'm trying to think, yeah, that was 2 days ago. So just wanted to talk a bit about a couple of those new features that we've got in that new release, which I'm particularly excited for. So if we're using CSV text files, then we've got now the option to choose what row our headers are going to start on. So for example, if our data is reading in like this, where we've got a lot of null rows to start off with, we've got some generated field names of like F1, F2, F3, then we've just got this simple option now in the input step to be able to choose what row our headers start on, and we get rid of those nulls. And that works really nicely. So looking forward to making use of that. We have like the data interpreter for our Excel files already. So this is now kind of catching CSVs up to that and making sure we have that functionality. So that's definitely a great one. Can't wait to use that in some prep and data challenges, I'm sure. The other exciting thing that we have now is fill down. So where we've read in, say, for example, from Excel, and they've got those merge cells, we've got nulls where we know we want to fill those values down. It's now just a very simple click of a few buttons to get that fill down working. So it's got that visual editor, very similar to the analytical calcs that we have already, such as the moving average, the rank, the fixed LOD. So working very similarly to that. And that's going to make life a lot easier compared to the workaround that we'd found to do that before, which involved some self joins, so on and so forth. So again, loving that feature. Can't wait to have some prep and datas with this updated feature. And then finally, we've got a running sum now built in to Tableau Prep. So on our numerical fields, we can just, as long as we have a field that we can order it by, and then we can group by as well, make sure that running calculation happens much more simply than before when, again, we'd use a self-join to work around that. And I think the interface looks quite nice, kind of showing you what values are then included in that running sum. So yeah, again, super excited for those features in 23.3. So make sure you go and download it to have a play yourself. And just on new releases, I just wanted to remind you, if you hadn't heard yet, that from next year, we're only, well, actually from this year, actually, we're only getting 3 releases of Tableau Prep a year now. So that's how the release cycle is changing. This image is thanks to Tableau Tim. I did borrow it from his LinkedIn page, which I hope he doesn't mind. So just wanted to make that super clear visually, that we'll get 3 releases of prep next year going forwards, and then server is changing to 2 releases, or every other release, if you like. So in January, we'll get a new version of server, but then we won't get a new version of server till the end of the year again. So it kind of is slightly out of sync, whereas cloud does update in line with that. So just something to bear in mind if you are using a Tableau server with your prep workflows as to which version of prep you should be using, basically. Cool. Awesome. A little bit of shameless self-promotion before we go on to our talk today. If you are about later today, then please do come along to the newbie tag as well, where I will be speaking a little bit about how prep makes desktop easier to use. So it's a little QR code if you want to scan that, but I won't spend too long shamelessly self-promoting before moving on to our speakers for today. But of course, before we get there, just those a couple more admin slides of if you're interested in presenting in the future at a Tableau Prep user group, we would love to have you. This is the link that you could go to. The next one that will be at this time zone will be in April next year. So already thinking about 2024. I know April is going to be a busy month anyway with Tableau conference coming up then as well, but we would love to have you speaking at a future event. So please always feel free to register your interest here. And finally, the Tableau Prep Playground is our Slack channel where we all hang out. We post about events there. We help people out with various prep questions, maybe have a little complaint from time to time if prep isn't doing exactly what we want it to. But mainly, it's just a nice supportive environment where we can all kind of chat about prep and get some help about prep. So yeah, please come along and join that if you haven't already. And then on to today and our speakers that we have. So we'll be starting off with Matthias talking about some survey data, which really looking forward to that. So I'll hand over to Matthias to give his presentation. We'll ask him some questions at the end before handing over to Jake. So I'll stop sharing my screen so that you can share yours.
Hello, good morning. Thanks a lot for getting up early in case you're in Europe. Yes, let's start the talk about, let me share the screen. Sorry, I had to read the instructions first. So now, we have the mirror effect. Okay, who am I? My name is Matthias. It's hard to pronounce, I know, in English. And this is me with my wife and my son. He's going to be 6 years old. And in the background, you saw his drawings. He likes to draw on the wardrobe, which I used as a whiteboard before I had my own one. I'm living in Switzerland, close to Winterthur, which is close to Zurich. And a funny story, in the village I live, the only Tableau solution architect from Salesforce grew up in the same village. So it's the breathing and breeding place for Tableau cracks. I'm a 2 times Tableau Forum ambassador, so a problem solver. And I have a blog about design in data. It's called designindata.com, where I apply mainly my legacy knowledge from communication studies to the world of analytics. And this is my employer. We are about to get rebranded to Orange. It's about 4 years that we were bought by Orange, the telecommunication company. But as for today, we are still called business and decision. And yeah, maybe that's also a story worth to be told. I was initially working as a journalist, print journalist, And then I found out that job market is very hard, so I pivoted to the world of analytics, and I made a second master in information and data management. And when I started the business and decision, the Tableau practice, it was always very small, so we had to do everything. I was specialized on the front end, but thanks to this, I also did a lot of data cleansing and stuff like that. First with Alteryx, and then luckily Tableau Prep came, because I think it has the better usability than Alteryx. Alteryx is very mighty, no questions, but yeah. Okay, what will we look at today? We will look at the use case I had to, or I could use Tableau Prep for. Why Prep is good for survey data. The learnings I got from this complex flow. It was quite complex, I can say that already. And conclusion of the learnings. And if there is time, I don't know, we can have a look at some feature I would like to see improved in Tableau Prep. So the use case, it was survey results from tourists, and it was for the Federal Agency of Tourism in Switzerland. And yeah, they had some questions that needed to be charts, and at the same time also filters. And this means you need the data in 2 different shapes. And it has several languages. Maybe a short quiz. Do you know how many languages are spoken in Switzerland? You could post the answer in the chat. Oh, sorry, this is this mirroring. Yeah, correct. Correct. 4. Oh, sorry. So it's German, Swiss German. It's not it's like a dialect. French, Italian, and one language that is not here, Rätoromanisch. It's a very old language, and only few people speak it, but it's still spoken in Switzerland. And speaking of different languages in a country, I had with the survey data, I had different question types. So, but it's normally the case, and this caused a lot of issues. We will see. Okay, now first for why is it a good idea to use Tableau Prep if you have survey data? One very good reason is if you pivot or unpivot the data, you are much faster with building the charts, because I have the data first in this structure, and Q99, which is about what is your gender, it needs to be a filter. So I leave it like this. I don't pivot this one, but the other ones I have per respondent ID, response ID. I have 3 times for the 3 questions. Of course, if you have more questions, you have more rows. And then it's very easy. You just you build the chart first. If you are smart, you do all the formatting already for the first chart, and then all you have to do, given the question or has the same structure, you just switch the filter from question 1 to question 2 to question 3. You can put the question ID, I think, here if you want, if that's helpful. And it's super fast to have this. And here the not pivoted or the unpivoted. It's always I think the people who defined this were not so careful, and because that's a pivot table, but in Tableau Prep language it says pivot this, and then you get this, which is a non-pivot. But yeah, that's maybe a detail. And the second reason why I think it's a good idea to use Tableau Prep for survey data is if you have own questions, so the respondents can type in the answer, and you see it here very clear with the example of Malta. People are misspelling it, spelling it with capital letters, and the survey was also conducted with people from different countries. So in French it's Malte. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, even though I'm Swiss. Shame on me. Yeah, and this function here to auto group, or no, here I didn't use auto group because you need some human intelligence as well. If you have broader categories like Estland, Letland, Litauen, it would not work with spelling or something like that. But it's very convenient. You can go through, and the main point is when you have new data, you don't know what's coming, and you can revisit this section here, and you can group the new creative wording, spellings to the correct group. So that's really handy, and it's okay to let the business user do this after a short explanation, I found out. Okay, these are the two reasons. Then what did I learn? This here is a picture of the flow I made. And one learning, I would have been glad if I had learned this much earlier in the process, because I was waiting here and things were not working. The joins were producing data multiplication, and I was waiting and waiting like half an hour for everything to be ready. And then when I had built the main structure, I thought, oh, why not filter here? Why not apply a filter and just filter to about 10 respondent IDs? Of course, this section here with the open question, for this you need all the data, but for the rest, to build the rest and to see if what comes in the join and what goes out of the join matches what you want and what you expect, then that's a very neat trick to implement a filter step very early in the flow. Learning number 2, document your steps. This is very important. If you would ask me now, what does this step do? What does this step do? I would say, sorry, I forgot. It's half a year ago, and even then I did not know everything correctly. I just knew it does the right thing in the end. So, but yes, that's really that's key to document what the steps do. Here you see my sample step. I made it yellow to find it very easily, and it's also very good for if you leave the company, someone else takes over, and they can understand what the steps do apart from the user interface, which is already, in my opinion, very intelligent. It shows you all the changes, and it has these symbols, and but also name the steps as well. I didn't do it consistently, but that was due to lack of time. Usually, if you do it right at the beginning, it's like self-documenting the ETL process, which is very fantastic. Learning number 3: group the steps. Once you have built something complex like here, then it's a good idea to and something that don't need to be touched anymore. It's a good idea to group it, and this feature is not so old, so it's quite new in Tableau Prep. And Alteryx had it before. In Alteryx you can even group, you can like nest the groups, and it's super handy because also from a psychological point of view, if you give the flow to someone and he or she has only to do some little changes somewhere in the flow, and they see a monster and they feel scared, or they might shy away from it. And if it's all tidied up in the groups, that's very good. Also to find the steps, and here again name the step to find it very fast, and document what it does, the entire step. That's also like a meta layer for the single steps. You can describe what the whole container or group does. Learning number 4: include checks. So this is like a check for, I misspelled it even in German, but I don't know if German people are present. But yeah, I misspelled it, but it's about plausibility check. if things work until here. And you can also filter it to if you have if you just want to look at the one single variable, for example, or question, and this can be a dead end. It doesn't harm the mainstream, but you have it there if you want to do checks. I even shied away from deleting it when I delivered the whole flow to the Federal Tourism Office. So I think it's a good thing. And again, about checks, check the joins. This was really that caused me the most problems, because I wanted to have everything in the flow. My idea was then I give it to the customer, and they don't have to worry about it, and you don't need a super complex data model, stuff like that in Tableau Prep, in Tableau Desktop. But yeah, this one was crossing my plans because here you see what's going in the join, and here you see what's going out, and I had like 32,000 something, and what was going out was like 70 million. So I knew, oh, something is not so good. I forgot the matching criteria here. And you see that the things that match are only 5, 7, 5. In this case, it's okay because I had the variables on different levels. So I had to for the different languages, I think I had to do the joins on different levels. So this is like 575 answers that were given in this structure here. So it was expected. But you have a very, very good interface here, and it's very visual, and use it. That's my tip. And always check what comes in, what goes out. And as I mentioned, it caused me a lot of problems. And too late, as always, I decided to do the joins. No, not joins. I leveraged the logical data model, the relations with these different types. These are with a V, it's a variable, and with a Q, it's a question. So I could do it case by case, and then I had the right table ready to take the translated questions, for example. Yes, so let's conclude the learnings. Filter early, document the steps, group the steps, include checks, check the joins, and don't do everything in prep. So let me see. How is it about the time? Do we have a little time to look in the feature I would like to?
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So if I go out here, if I leave this, so let's say I'm a colleague from the tourist office, and she wants to she has now new data. She took it in the flow, and now she wants to work on this variable here, on this question D4 15T. T stands for text. Okay, so she goes here, and now the waiting is normal. It has a lot of data, so I probably should not have left the step, but in order to demo the function I would like to have, I had to leave it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of the great things about prep is that it's always running your data through, but then it's also one of the bad things about prep that it can sometimes result in these long waits.
Okay, now I would be. I mean, I myself, I had to search hard for where can I now work on this group. So I went here, then I looked group values. Yes, yes, manual selection. This is what I want to do. Okay, but now maybe here. No. Here is a second. I don't need this. it's hard to pretend you are looking for something if you already know where it is. So I want to click here on the pencil. Now, maybe on this one. Okay, now here I have it. And this one, in my opinion, it could be, it's very good hidden. So you have to know where to go. And if you explain it to a customer, you have to go first there, then go to the changes and then edit the changes. It's maybe there is a faster way. I don't know. I have to be fair. But if you had a feature like if you are on any step and you have like the context menu here, and you would have for the grouping fields like it doesn't have to be named exactly like this, work on the groups, but edit groups or something like that. That would be a big win in my opinion. And the other thing, I maybe if I have it open already, I can mention is that the customer was very happy that the ungrouped fields were still here, so you could see it very easily when it has a the how is this called in English, bracket or the
Grouping.
groupings?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
not
sorry.
the
The
symbol,
paperclip.
the symbol.
Sorry, the paperclip.
Yeah, this one. You see, okay, that's already grouped, and the other ones you see easily, and then you can work on these and group them to the group. They like this one a lot, and then I just union all these questions, and I have the perfect grouping. It's condensed. You don't have all the text, you just have the label value, and yeah, that's super. Okay, that's all from me. Let's
Brilliant.
yeah.
Thank you so much for that. Sorry again at the beginning for having terrible pronunciation of your name.
No worries. Everybody does it.
I'm sorry you're so used to it. That yeah, no, that was a really interesting use case that you walked us through. It's so interesting. My cat's joined. She loved every second. Just a couple of questions from the chat. Oleg was asking about when you were doing those groupings, if you considered using ChatGPT at all. So I'll start with that bit before we go on to his second part of the question.
Yes, maybe I tested it. The Tableau GPT
Mm-hmm.
feature that is maybe coming. I don't know when. And there was one use case where I didn't know it by heart what to do, and it didn't give me the right answer. And for the other two, I said, "Oh, I know how to do it." And then the testing person said, "Well, tried to do it with this Tableau GPT, and it did the job. But as a summary, I said, okay, but the only way I when I would love to use it, it didn't work, and for the other ones, I knew what to do anyway. So it was not a big win for me. But I think if you have to use regex, that's super handy if you have the ChatGPT. available. And I'm always a little bit ambiguous about ChatGPT. In the forum, we see a lot of people wanting to have many points, and they use ChatGPT to generate answers. And in 9 out of 10 cases, the answer is wrong. I used it very early, and for how to design this chart, and then it gave me like a recipe, and I said, "Oh no, my job is over as a consultant. This thing is so good, and it just sounds good." But when I tried to follow the instructions at the fourth point, I said, "No, there is no such function in Tableau." It's sometimes inventing, but I use it for example for my blog. I tell it exactly what I want, and then after that, since I was in journalism, I edit the whole text. But I say use easy language, structure it well, stuff like that. That's doing a fantastic job and a huge time saver. But it's like you have to tell it exactly what you want, otherwise, and you have to know about the subject. Otherwise, it's not a good idea to use it.
Yeah, no, I definitely
But
agree.
I don't know it. I mean, there is already artificial intelligence involved in those spelling
Hmm.
checks. But I still think if you have like a label, yeah, maybe that could work. If you say it's either this word, or this word, and then you have probably to define which is the separation sign, and then it could look for all the things that are spelling like this. Yeah, maybe that could be an improvement.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with you that right now it's maybe not there for this use case. You probably wouldn't want to be uploading all of your clients' data to ChatGPT, like telling
Yes,
it all about that either.
that's
That's probably the
that's
other
on top. Yes,
consideration.
that's on top.
Yeah. And then the second follow-up part to Oleg's question there was around using a large language model for this use case, like translating it all into one language and then processing it based on that. Like, would that have been something that the customer would have considered, or did they really want like the multiple languages in their output as well?
The issue there is that the French spoken in Switzerland is slightly different than this French spoken in France.
Mm.
And they had like two French, the Swiss French version.
Hmm.
It's comparable to English, American, and
Yep.
British English, and yeah, but they used DeepL to translate.
Hmm.
I think it's not the best time to be in the translating business anymore,
Mm, mm.
because people use it a lot, and yeah,
Yeah.
I think
No, that makes sense.
yes. The question is always how these models are trained, and if they have, for example, I mean, tourism is a broad language that don't has too many special terms, but in a field where you have a very special terminology, um, yeah, if you don't train, if you train it on a broad, it probably cannot understand the right meaning of the language. I mean, with all the things semantics, humans are very good with semantics. We are super fast. We can see a pattern right away, and computer vision, yes, in a very narrow use case, yes, but as broad as we humans, no, no chance. Not in 100 year. I say something maybe I regret, but yeah.
Yeah, no, no, definitely agree with you there. Cool. Couple more questions from other people in the chat. Esha was definitely agreeing with you about documenting steps, like definitely difficult to remember how to build something that you built 4 months ago. Like, what did I do in this workflow? Do you have any like specific tips on like ways to make that documentation like the most effective?
Yes, consistency would
Mhm.
pop up in my mind, but I have to. I'm not so consistent, so um, I don't know if sometimes you put a lot of time and effort into something just to make it super consistent, but in the end, no one ever looks at it. So it's I think you have to have a good weight.
Mm.
So if it's working and if it's as long as it's understandable, you can do it rapidly. If you have spelling mistakes, don't worry about that. As long as people, I I always said when someone spells my name a little bit different, as long as I know you know me, everything is fine. So don't worry. And yeah, as long as you understand yeah, but maybe use simple language. Not everybody is an expert with data. Use like. Metaphors, for example, that what this step is making, so they get the idea. Yeah, that those two tips would be
Yeah,
so not
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely. One of
not
the things that we sometimes do with clients as well is like have a quick recording of the workflow that takes you 5 minutes to explain. And then even if they don't look at it, you can come back to it in like 6 months and
mhm,
rewatch your video and be like, what was I doing? Okay, cool. Now I get it.
yeah, yeah,
So I
that's
know it's
true.
not necessarily a solution within prep, but sometimes just having that quick video recording can help too.
Mm. I also link a lot to videos which explain something.
Mm,
When there is a question in the forum, I know there is a good video showing this. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Cool. And then one final technical question here in the chat. Around if you're doing a join and you want to match only part of the word rather than like the whole word, what symbol would you use in that join clause?
Phew.
Tricky
uh,
one.
Yes, if you just want to match a part of the string,
Mm,
um, yeah, that was the thing I had with this chat Tableau GPT
mm,
testing, and it was contains. Yes, that could be an idea. I had like a consistent
mhm,
length, and I just wanted to split it, and I didn't know the split function by heart, so I I used this GPT, but it didn't. Maybe my instructions were not good, to be fair, but I took 2 or 3 shots and it couldn't do it, so we stepped to the next problem. Yes, if you regex, I would say, and once that feature is there, I think it's going to be loved because no human being, apart from, I mean, let's say normal human being, there are super brains who don't have issues and they think in these patterns. Great job, but usually you cannot know all these regex
mm.
special um, tricks by heart. So yeah, that and it's very powerful. It's even more powerful than the mid function you get in every Tableau certification exam, probably. And no one ever has a clue what it does, but it's also a little bit powerful. But I think regex is even more flexible to
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, there's no way in the join in Tableau Prep itself to do that. joining just a part of a word. So yeah, all those functions that you're mentioning are going to kind of help you find the part of the word that you're wanting
Also,
before the join.
sometimes you have also a mismatch, and this is due to some dirty data, and then you can check this section with the I showed with the join, and there you see all that's not working, and then you say, okay, there is an extra suffix or prefix, and you can get rid of this, and then it's working like charms. So
Yeah,
that
it's
could
really useful
also
for
be
investigating that. Yeah, cool. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time today, this morning, and walking us
Thank
through
you.
that. I really enjoyed that presentation. So I'll hand over to Jake now for talking about the scripting step in Tableau Prep.
Hello, morning, afternoon, evening, everyone to their respective time zones. I'm just going to share my screen now and then get underway with my section of the talk.
Thanks very much, Jake.
Thanks, Jenny. So yeah, a quick introduction to myself. So I am Jake. I am an analytics consultant at a company called the Information Lab. And today I will be walking you through how you can enhance Tableau Prep workflows using the scripts step. Specifically, I'll be talking about how we can integrate Python and Python scripts to Tableau Prep workflows. Now, I definitely don't claim to be an absolute expert on the topic. My knowledge around this came from just a little bit of interest in terms of seeing that script step, never using it and wanting to find out a little bit more about it. Probably see from the tabs on my screen that I had a little bit of help along the way from ChatGPT. But yeah, nevertheless, I'll walk you through what I have discovered about the topic. So the first thing you might be asking yourself is, why would we want to integrate Python with Tableau Prep in the first place? So the main reason is you may encounter specific scenarios where specific computations or data transformations are outside of Tableau Prep's native capabilities. And what the script steps or the script step allows you to do is it allows you to use another programming language, whether that be Python or R, to fill in those gaps that Tableau Prep may have when it comes to that particular use case. So it allows the user to define custom functions, and it allows them to apply it to kind of their data flow pretty seamlessly. So when it comes to kind of bridging that gap between Tableau and Python, there's something really important that you will need to configure before you're able to use scripts within your Tableau Prep workflows. So for Python specifically, you will need to make sure that you have Tableau Python server installed and running somewhere where you can easily connect to, either from your desktop application or from your server. So we're going to talk a little bit about TabPy. So TabPy is just short for Tableau Python, and Tableau Python Server is an external service that will allow the execution of Python code within Tableau. So yeah, essentially, as I said before, it's just bridging that gap between Tableau and Python and allowing you to use those scripts and use that functionality that you might build with Python and integrate that within Tableau pretty seamlessly. So again, what will that allow us to do? Well, it opens the doors to advanced statistical models that we can produce within Python, machine learning, other sophisticated techniques, which we'll talk about today. And specifically, we'll be focusing on sentiment analysis, which I thought fitted in quite nicely with Matthias's talk. So on the topic, let's talk a little bit more about sentiment analysis. So this is going to be our primary or our only use case today. So we can just talk about it a little bit more just to set the scene. So you may have a survey data set, for example, that also includes free text columns where the respondent will write sentences giving you feedback of a particular product. So reviews, comments, all this kind of stuff. And of course, this can be really rich in terms of how helpful this can be for the business. But deciphering that sentiment is not always the easiest thing. It's pretty easy for a human reading it, but not for a machine. And that's where Python can come in really handy. So what I've done for this example is I've used a library within Python called TextBlob. And what that allows us to do is gauge the polarity and the subjectivity of each of these individual views. So when I talk about polarity, that's just helping us categorize whether the reviews are positive, negative, or neutral. And when we're talking about subjectivity, that's how subjective that is. So kind of talking about the accuracy of that, I guess, is a way to put it. So the example we're going to be looking through today, again, I've got just a really, really simple data set that I want to run through. A simple mock survey data set. So we've got 4 columns. We've got respondent ID, just a unique identifier for each of our respondents. We have a product name, so this specifies which of our products the feedback is related to. We have our review text. Now, this is going to be the heart of our analysis today. So you can hopefully see from the screenshot that within our review text, we've essentially got sentences which hold information about that particular product, but it's going to be incredibly difficult for Tableau to be able to pull that information out and then be able to visualize it in a easy to understand way. So that particular column is going to be core to our analysis today. And then finally, we've got a rating, which Tableau will be able to take in and visualize very easily. But again, there might be more information within the review text that we don't have. So let's just talk a little bit more about Python and how we created the script itself. So what I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to flash up, grab it. Just going to flash up the script that I put together with the help of ChatGPT. Again, far from a Python expert, but I understand the gist of what's happening, and I can also kind of walk through the core things that will need to be included in order for this script to be integrated seamlessly with Tableau Prep. So the first thing that we're doing within here is we're using a pandas data frame, and that is crucial when it comes to integrating Python with Tableau. So I can actually share this help page with you if you do want to have a play around with this yourselves. This help page kind of talks through all the prerequisites that you need in order to integrate Python with Tableau. And you can see down here, of course, step 2, we have the prerequisite of having to download and install TabPy, and I can talk about that a little bit more later. But you'll see here that the third one is that we have to have pandas installed because this is the data frame we need within our scripts in order to integrate Tableau Prep Builder with Python. So let me bring that back up. So that's what we're doing in that first line, and the second line, we're importing the textbook library, which is the specific library we're going to use in order to decipher the polarity and the subjectivity of our review text column. Next thing, we're defining our sentiment analysis function. This bit is just a quick check to see if we have the related column that we need in the data we're bringing in. So in our case, that's going to be the review text. If we don't have that review text column within the data we're bringing in, this script is firstly going to be useful because it has no free text to actually analyze. So it's going to bring back an error if that is the case. The next section is using that textbook library in order to calculate the sentiment polarity and subjectivity. And then the second to last section is about categorizing that polarity into positive, negative, or neutral. So the polarity will return a number between -1 and 1, 1 being positive, -1 being negative. We're just using that those values to kind of categorize them into 3 main categories. You don't necessarily have to include this in the script. You actually could do this fairly simply within Tableau Prep itself. Completely up to you how you want to do it. And then finally, we have this get output schema function, and this is absolutely crucial. And we'll see when we jump into Tableau Prep. But you will absolutely need this within your script in order to firstly define the structure of the data that you're outputting from the script, so that Tableau Prep understands what to be reading back into the flow, essentially. So without defining the output schema, Tableau Prep is not going to be able to integrate that output with the rest of the flow. Cool, so let's jump back into the slides. Let's actually go through how we can set this up within Tableau Prep. So I've just put this on a slide just to kind of highlight actually how fairly simple it is to integrate Python scripts into Tableau. So there's essentially 3 core steps that you need to go through, making the assumption that all of those prerequisites you have in place beforehand. But given those prerequisites have been put in place, then there are kind of 3 core steps that we want to go through. So let me open up Tableau Prep quickly. And you can see I've already gone ahead and read in the data that I need for this particular example. So I'm just going to bring that in. God, have been worried there with that warning for a second, but it looks like it's all good. And as you can see from the data preview, our data follows that same structure of the screenshot that I showed you previously. And again, we can further just review that by adding a clean step and just having a look at the data profile, just making sure that all the data is in the right structure and in the structure that we expect it to be. Core thing being that we do have this review text field, which is vital for the Python script that we're going to run. So how do we go ahead and integrate a Python script? So the first thing that we actually need to do is we need to set up that connection between Tableau Prep and our TabPy server. So without that connection to the TabPy server, there's essentially no bridge between Python and Tableau. Therefore, you're not going to be able to integrate the 2 products. So the first thing we need to do is we need to jump into the help menu towards the top of our screens. And if we go into settings and performance, and then select manage analytics extension. Now you can see I've set this up previously. So you have 2 options here. Again, we're talking about integrating Python specifically to Tableau today. But if you wanted to include an R script, for example, then there are slightly different steps involved where you'd connect to R server and then go from there. But for this example, I want to connect to our Tableau Python server. And what I have done is I've installed and run this server locally on my machine. So the server name is just localhost, and the default port that TabPy server communicates through is port 9004. Another useful link I'll just share with you. So as you can see, I've got this set up locally on my machine. But of course, in a business context, you're likely going to want to integrate these prep flows with your Tableau server, and go ahead and even use Prep Conductor to schedule these flows to run on a continual basis. So let me, there we go. Couple of just useful bits of information. So this is firstly how we can set up Tableau as a server. Again, just if you're interested to experiment with this yourselves. A really useful blog here which kind of walks you step by step how to get that installed either on your local machine or your or any other location really. And then there's also a section on the previous link that I sent you around how we can configure the Tableau Python server specifically for Tableau server. And a few kind of interesting points to point out here. So if you are on a version earlier than 2020.4, then you will only be able to run publish flows that have that includes script steps in them already. You won't be able to kind of create and edit and run the flows that include script steps. That comes in version 2020.4.1 and later. And then the big thing here is about the integration with Tableau Cloud. So as it stands, this is not supported with Tableau Cloud. So that's an important thing to note. Brilliant. Okay, so once we've got our connection set up, we can go ahead and click sign in. And then we want to go ahead and incorporate the script to our step, or the script to our flow, sorry. So you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen now, I have my different configuration options. First thing I need to define is my connection type. So my connection type, again, as discussed, we are connected to our TabPy server. And you can see as soon as I switch to my TabPy server, because I've established that connection in the previous step, we can see that I've got a successful connection that has popped up under the settings tab here. A couple more steps. We then need to tell Tableau what script we want to run. So let's go ahead and browse our files. And you can see within this folder, I have some poorly named scripts. I have my script and then I have my test. So I'm 99% certain that this script.py is the one that we want to use. So I can open that up. And then the final thing I need to do is I need to tell Tableau or define the function name that I want to use. So if we look within our script, bring that up, we can actually see here that we've defined the name of this particular function as sentiment underscore analysis. So I can pop that in there, and then you can see my alerts are now at 0. I've got no errors, and we're starting to see some extra fields come through, which is just confirming to us that that script is running successfully and we're starting to get some results the other side. So if you remember what that script is doing, it's giving us initially our polarity and our subjectivity. So we can maybe have a look at some of these examples here. So we've got a polarity of -1, which is defining a negative review. And we can see there within the review text, it crashes sometimes, which can be very annoying. Now, I'm not claiming that this particular script is absolutely perfect. It's a very simplistic version of a sentiment analysis script. If you're more skilled than I am in Python, then I'm sure you can probably come up with a better script for producing results. But you can see it's giving us some information from that text field and some pretty good information based off the back of reading the sentiment within that particular text field. We can maybe look at another example. So we've got a polarity of 0, which will count as a neutral statement or a neutral sentiment. And it just says there's a bit of audio lag when watching videos. So there's no real kind of emotional words there. No words like annoying, bad, good, great, etc. It's just a statement saying this happens sometimes. So it's given that a neutral sentiment there. And then we also have this other field, which is the subjectivity. So this will actually really help us kind of narrow down those data points which we can kind of trust a little bit more than the other ones. So we can see this ranges from values of 0 to 1. And again, you can just look at this as how subjective that particular field is. So if we go back to this example, then we can see that this is not very subjective. I assume that's going to be because of this very annoying aspect of it that the function that we're using is pretty confident that that is a negative sentiment within there. Cool, and that is essentially it for actually integrating them. I could go ahead and clean this data up and then put it into Tableau Desktop and actually visualize some of this. But seeing as it's a Tableau Prep user group, let's stick on topic and start talking about different hurdles that I found when trying to set this up for the first time and just experimenting with using scripts within Tableau. So the first one that I encountered was connectivity issues with TabPy. So there was a couple of things that happened initially. I think the port that it defaulted to on install was already being used by another application, which meant that I had to free that up in order or assign another port to TabPy in order for it to be able to communicate freely. TabPy needs to be running for this to work okay. So even if you have TabPy installed, if it's not running on the location that you've installed it, then this isn't going to work. So again, really important that you kind of sort those connectivity issues. Again, my port of call was always Google. Really, whenever I encountered an issue, Googled the issue, and there was information on Google. So that would always be my first port of call. Challenge 2, script errors or inefficiencies. So again, I spoke about how crucial it was to include the get output schema. So initially my script did not have that. And when uploading that script to Tableau did not recognize at all what I was trying to spit out of this script essentially. So again, just ensuring that your script contains everything that it needs to contain, there are no errors within that script, so it's probably worth doing a bit of testing outside of Tableau Prep so that you're confident that the script works before you start integrating it with Tableau Prep. And then finally, data mismatch or formatting issues. So again, I was pretty stupid, and within my data set, I had not named the review text column consistently with what I was referring to in the script. Again, seems like a really simple issue. For me personally, anyway, it's one that I seem to encounter over and over again, which, yeah, is frustrating. So again, just making sure that you're double checking and triple checking that everything is set up correctly and you have all the correct naming conventions. Brilliant. So today we looked at one particular use case, sentiment analysis. There are so many other use cases out there, not ones that, again, I'd be completely proficient in, but from doing some research, things like advanced forecasting. In one of my previous roles, forecasting was incredibly important. And this was all done outside of Tableau. Tableau was the chosen tool of choice, but all the forecasting models were produced outside of Tableau. But what this allows us to do is take those forecasting models, which may have been produced in R or Python, and actually integrate that into kind of our data flow within the Tableau ecosystem, which can be really, really handy. Anomaly detection is another big use case that I've read about online. And then finally, non-surprisingly, predictive modeling as well. So loads of different use cases. Again, probably just worth looking at particular use cases you might have. And if Tableau's native capabilities aren't capable, then you can go ahead and look at potential solutions in R and Python and look to integrate those into your Tableau ecosystem. And that's pretty much it. So I guess I'll open the floor to any questions that people may have.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you so much for your talk, Jake. Please do chuck any questions in the chat if you had them. We have one here from your fellow co-presenter saying how, yeah, sentiment analysis and auto-categorizing are two really prominent use cases for script steps. And then the question is around where would you see the table extension feature? Which I'm not sure what that's referring to, but do you?
No, Matthias, do you want to just clarify that quickly?
Yes, sure. I have not experienced with it. It was demoed at the Tableau conference, and I know it's already there. But the use case they showed where they had like what used to be Twitter posts, and they wanted to categorize or something, to do something like that with it, and then they could use the table extension, and it was like in the data model already doing this. But in the forum there were some questions about it, and I got the feeling no one really knows about it. And my idea is probably it's like you use the script steps in Tableau Prep for if you want the proper data model and stuff like that. And if you don't have so much time, you probably use this table extension feature if you are more doing like ad hoc analysis or something like that. That could be where I put it, but yeah, maybe we switch to another question if it would take, I guess, too much time to dig in with what it does exactly.
That's really interesting, though, because it looks like
Yeah.
that's the way that Tableau will be going, based on the fact that Tableau Cloud, you can't have these script steps in your prep workflow, as Jake was saying. So
Yeah.
this is probably where it's more going, but yeah, interesting.
Mhm.
Anything to add there, Jake?
Cool. I'd never come across them before, no. But yeah, as you said, Jenny, it looks like that's the direction that we'll be going in, and it makes sense as it is supported by cloud. So that's really cool. I'll have a little read of this in my spare time.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a topic I should look up on as well. Thank you for digging out.
There is a good video, I think, by Tableau Tim
Tableau
about
Tim?
this.
Yeah.
Yes. Check this
Cool,
out
yeah.
maybe before you get lost in the descriptions.
Yeah.
He is the guru on all the new features for sure. Cool.
Definitely.
I don't see any other questions for you at the moment, Jake. But one thing that I wanted to ask as well, when you were doing the script step with Tableau Prep, then the fields that you were passing to Python, did you have to make sure that, for example, like, does it matter if the field names have spaces in them when they go into the script step? Like, can Python then handle that? Because I know that generally in coding you don't have spaces for like variable names. Like, is that an issue or?
That is a good question. I generally just try to avoid it. That's kind of my go-to. My assumption would be it wouldn't be able to handle it. I could be completely wrong. But my kind of philosophy on that is avoid it where possible so that you don't run into that issue, which isn't particularly useful in terms of answering that question.
That's okay. I don't know the answer to that question either. I was just wondering. I guess that one of the cool things you could do beforehand in prep, if that was something you were worried about, is use like the renaming
Rename.
multiple
Yeah,
fields at
sure.
once, like replace all those spaces with underscores and be like, okay, let's err on the side of caution.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. In a real world example as well, you're going to come across data with spaces in column headers. I'm lucky enough for this talk that I can make all my data myself and make sure it's in the way I want it. But for sure, the rename steps, if I can maybe do a little bit of digging into whether that would make a difference. But that would definitely be the solution really if it was.
Cool. Oh, awesome. Cool. I don't think there are any other questions there. Oh, that's interesting that Wolf has chipped in as well with prep put spaces in when you load data from SQL Server. Yeah, so it's trying to be helpful, I guess,
Yeah,
to make it turn into human readable when you read it in from SQL Server. If it's like order underscore ID, it will just make it order space ID,
yeah,
which then could mean that you had the headache of then going adding those underscores back in if you were then going into Python. It's interesting the things that, like, yeah, it's helpful, but then is it actually helping in all the cases?
yeah,
No.
sure.
Cool. No, that's great. Thank you so much to both of you for presenting today. I think it's been a really great session, and I'm sure that even though some people may not be able to join due to the time, there'll be plenty of people who are going to be able to catch up on this talk and get a lot of value out of it. So thank you very much again for your time. We really appreciate it. And we'll wrap things up here then. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much, Post and Jenny. Thanks for your talk, Matthias.
Thanks,
Cool.
Jake. It was very great. Good insights.
Bye-bye.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone.